All right, guys, Levi Trumbull reporting outside of the Frederick County Courthouse. I am here today to share with you guys a major legal victory for journalists all over the state of Maryland. So before I tell you about what it is, I first want to set up a framework so that you know where we are going with this story. So how it works in the state of Maryland with the judiciary is that inside of a courthouse, more specifically a courtroom, no citizen, whether it be a person, a journalist, whomever it may be, no public citizen may photograph, audio record, or videotape inside of a Maryland courtroom. It is strictly prohibited, and the Maryland rules strictly go against being able to do this. So you might ask yourselves, if you are not allowed to preserve a copy with your own electronic devices, then how can somebody go about getting a copy of a court case? How can they go about getting the record? Well, in the state of Maryland, if you want to hear a court case, a audio recording of the court case, what you have to do is you have to inquire from the courthouse in question. You have to send them a written notice, whether it be the district court or circuit court, letting them know that you would like a custodian copy, an official copy of the audio record from the case in question. So when you get a copy of that audio recording, you might have it for your possession. However, it is strictly prohibited for any person, again, whether you're a citizen of the public, whether you're a news company, whether you're a journalist, it is strictly prohibited for any person to be able to take that official public record, that official copy, custodian kept audio public file, completely prohibited for any person to be able to publish that audio recording in any format. It is what's known as the broadcast ban in the state of Maryland. You cannot use it to post online. You cannot use it to post on radio. You cannot use it to post on your YouTube channel. You cannot share it on social media. If you obtain an audio file from the state of Maryland, from a state of Maryland courthouse, from a custodian of records, while it may be a public record, you are not allowed to publicly broadcast that audio recording. You can't do it no matter whom you are or what the circumstance is. It is completely prohibited. Well, in 2019, some journalists in Maryland had an issue with that, particularly National Public Radio, or NPR. So NPR specifically had a podcast which was called Embedded, and they wanted to use official court audio to use for their podcast as it relates to the Jared Ramos criminal proceedings. You might remember that Jared Ramos was the individual who shot people in the mass shooting as it relates to the 2018 Capitol Gazette attack that was carried out in Annapolis, Maryland. It was a national case, it made national headlines, and it was a big ordeal. Now, NPR wanted to take snippets of that court audio, which again was obtained from the Maryland Judiciary, and they wanted to broadcast it. However, they knew they could not do that. So NPR, along with some other journalists in 2019, filed a lawsuit against the Maryland Judiciary to seek an injunction that would prevent the Maryland Judiciary from being able to hold journalists in contempt of court or sanction them for broadcasting courthouse audio which was lawfully obtained. The plaintiffs, the journalists in this case, claimed that this prohibited journalists from being able to exercise their First Amendment under the United States Constitution. Well, this issue would ultimately work its way through the federal court, and a federal court judge would ultimately find that the Maryland Judiciary was being unconstitutional in not allowing the public citizens of Maryland to broadcast lawfully obtained court audio. And with that, the journalists won the case and would ultimately go on, especially in the NPR case, to broadcast for the first time publicly court audio which was from a Maryland state courthouse. So moving forward, with a finding on the books from a federal court judge that Maryland Judiciary's courthouse audio broadcast ban was unconstitutional and violated the First Amendment, the Maryland Judiciary Rules Committee had no choice but to amend the rules to now allow courthouse audio, which is lawfully obtained, to be permissible to publish and broadcast by any citizen in any jurisdiction. This news is unbelievably positive as it relates to transparency in the courthouses in the state of Maryland. And personally, I can't believe that throughout the long history that Maryland has audio recorded court cases, that nobody has challenged this unconstitutional rule before. However, in 2019, litigants successfully argued that the broadcast ban was unconstitutional. It was always unconstitutional, and now it is changed. So now, moving forward, journalists in Maryland will be able to publish and bring audio to the viewers. We will have unlocked a new level of transparency as it relates to what's going on inside of courthouses around Maryland. We will get access like we have never had before. So moving forward, if I happen to obtain any court audio, I will certainly be implementing it into my broadcasts in the future when I cover court cases, now that I now have the right to do that. Not only do I plan to implement court audio in my presentations in the future, but if you live in Maryland, if you're familiar with Maryland, I am confident that now you will start to hear court audio on the news, different local news stations in the state of Maryland. I'm confident that they will also be implementing that into their news coverage. We are definitely going to take advantage of this when we can. Who knows what we'll bring to you? Perhaps the Chelsea Phoenix case. I have no idea. But great legal news and a great legal victory as it relates to the citizens of Maryland. Levi Trumbull reporting outside of the Frederick County Courthouse in Frederick, Maryland.